Boo! Hey, good morning, everybody. It's Hammer. Today is Wednesday, March 20th, 2024. I, of course, am with Originator Success, here with your daily mortgage rate update, the only place on the web where you guys get to be a part of the conversation. Appreciate you joining me. Remember, you can join me live each and every day, 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time as I do the show. If you watch on the replay, don't forget to give me a hashtag replay in the comments. Don't forget to smash that like button, tag a fellow friend, share us in a group if you're on Facebook. If you're on YouTube, subscribe, give us a thumbs up, click that notification bell. Remember, you can sign up for our written email lock advice. Get that to your inbox each and every weekday morning, www.ratelockadvice.com. You could also use that cool QR code right there if you'd like. Today is an important day. Make sure you're signed up for our text alerts, www.ratetextalerts.com. We're going to be sending out alerts this afternoon to keep you posted on what's going on with the Fed fireworks. It's an important day to know what's going on. Definitely make sure that you join. They're $7 a month. You can't beat them. You should join them. Check them out. www.raytextalerts.com. Last but not least, check us out at originatorssuccess.com. Find out how I help you get loans from Google and social media. I probably should spend some more time telling you all about that stuff. But anyway, it is awesome sauce. Be sure to go check us out at originatorssuccess.com. Check out our demo on demand. We will show you how we can go ahead and get you some business. With that out of the way, let's say hi to the live folks. Let's see who we got here already this morning. We got Mr. Mike Morano. Good morning, sir. Ron Siegel, great to see you as well, my friend. We've got Nicole Semerad. Good morning, Nicole. Lisa Bollinger. Good morning. Gina Guzman. Good morning, Gina. If you're here this morning, make sure you go ahead and say good morning. Let me know that you're here. Would love to hear from you. So with that said and out of the way, let's dive in. Looking at the technicals this morning, mortgage bonds basically flat on the day at this particular moment. They're down 2 basis points. In another 30 seconds, they'll be up 2 basis points. It doesn't really matter. We could really zoom in on some of this and go to town talking about technicals. Look at how we're in a little candlestick here, trapped between the 25-day moving average, this blue line, and the 100-day moving average, this green line. But you know what? None of that is going to matter. None of it at all is going to matter. None of these technicals are going to matter because today is Fed day. All right, today is Fed day. So going back to the technicals, this 10-year Treasury yield, 4.29. You can see that we have pushed up against that 4.32 mark. And basically there has been an invisible line in the sand there that has given us support. We have improved a little bit off of that. What that basically puts us in a position is that rate sheets this morning likely to be a little bit better than yesterday, even though we're down a couple of basis points this morning. What you'll see here, if you look at this 5-day chart, we started out with mortgage bonds up here losing a lot of ground, and then yesterday we actually started to recover. So this forms a smiley face and should put a smile on your face. Rate sheets should be a little bit better on the day as bonds improved yesterday through the afternoon, and they're basically flat to start the day this morning. However, reprice risk on the day is high. Fed fireworks start at 2 p.m. Eastern time, y'all. They're going to continue until about 3:15. That's usually when we see most of the movement happen with all of this happy dance. We are going to see a lot of things going on. So my advice is to cautiously float, but definitely be ready to lock. Although I don't think today is going to be good for rates. I don't. But we do want to keep our options open because remember something. We are mortgage originators, which means we don't care about how the stock market reacts. We don't care about what's going on with long-term bonds. What we care about is what's happening with mortgage rates, right? And the reaction to what the Fed does and says is sometimes different than what you would expect. So not only do we have to worry about what the Fed actually says, but we're going to worry about what the reaction to that is. And let's go a little bit deeper on that. Let's have some fun and talk about this stuff a little bit. So I'm going to pop this up side to side and let's bounce around some articles. So starting out with Reuters this morning, we'll go in here and let's see what we've got. So the Fed rate cut confidence likely shaken, but not broken by inflation. All right. So Federal Reserve officials left their policy meeting in late January, the last Fed meeting, in search of greater confidence that inflation was on a sustainable downward path. That's what they were looking for, right? However, that is not really been the case when we look at where the last couple of CPI readings have come in. The last CPI consumer reports, the inflation reports, they have shown inflation is holding. Headline inflation improved a little bit, but core got a little bit worse than what was expected, especially month over month. Not seeing a lot of love on this. Now, if we jump over to some of the Bloomberg articles and take a look here, this one I'll come back to. Let's take a look. All right, so this is a good one. Stubborn U.S. inflation to shape the Fed's view on rate cut timing. So one of the things we got going on at this meeting is we're going to have a new dot plot. Now the dot plot is this happy little image right here. And as of December, it's done every quarter, right? So it's done December, March, June, September, and then December again. So what happens is in December, they released the dot plot, and the majority of Fed members here, very small majority, figured we would see 3 rate cuts this year at 4.5 to end the year. What there is speculation is that we are going to see a couple of these folks jump ship and go higher. We are likely to see some of these folks move higher. We're likely to see this whole thing shift up higher. And this, what I'm pointing to here, is the expectation of where the Fed will end the year with the Fed funds rate. Now, what's also likely to shift and will get a little less press, but is just as important, is where do they think we're going to be in 25, 26, and beyond? Because right here, look at the shape of this. And if we see this whole thing shift up, and we see this move up, that means longer term bonds are likely to react negatively. Not just the 10-year treasury, but 30-year bonds, things like that. So what happens is the longer end of the yield curve, if we see this expectation right now, Fed members figured after 2026 that we would be at around 2.75 and then down to 2.5. And basically a 2.5 Fed funds rate is generally where they're thinking we would see that neutrality, that neutral Fed funds rate. And we have a long way to get there. Now, the idea here, again, this is all just poppycock. It's speculation and it means nothing. What we've got going in our corner for this meeting is the fact that unemployment went from 3.7 to 3.9. A lot of Fed members see it pushing up to 4.1, though. So that might not spook them as much as you think. I did see an article about that and about the idea of the unemployment and different things here. Fed to give fresh clues on path of interest rate cuts. The Federal Reserve will likely avoid signaling an imminent rate cut this week. Yes, they're not cutting rates. We know that. In fact, when we look at Fed futures, it is a 99% expectation that the Fed will stay exactly where they are, and we all agree with that. However, they are likely here. Let's see. Federal Reserve Open Market Committee poised to keep rates in a range of 5.25 to 5.5 in its two-day policy meeting, a two-decade high, first reached in July. Which it's probably going to be a year that we see these rates stay the same. I think it'll be the July meeting. The rate decision economic forecast will be released at 2 p.m. in Washington. Powell's press conference 30 minutes later. Fed officials are reluctant to lower borrowing costs until they're certain inflation is closing in on 2%, the rate they see as appropriate for a healthy economy. But a recent rise in the unemployment rate to a 2-year high. Now remember, the Fed's 2% rate is also the PCE rate, not the CPI rate. CPI was 3.1 for the headline number, but the PCE is actually lower than that. So that's what they're looking at, not the CPI, but the CPI is going to play a big part in this. A recent rise in the unemployment rate to a 2-year high means they will need to balance their attention on both prices and the labor market. But there's not nearly enough data, in my opinion, to see that the Fed is going to lean in the direction of needing to cut rates. So why would the Fed cut rates? And cutting rates would help mortgage rates. Why would the Fed cut rates? Well, they're going to cut rates when the economy is slowing down. If they're afraid that we're seeing unemployment rise, labor market softening too much. We have not seen significant data on that. Yes, unemployment went up this last reading from 3.7 to 3.9, but look at the number of jobs created. We know there were huge revisions to that ridiculous January number of 355,000 jobs created, but there's still a lot of jobs being created. The JOLTS data supporting a lot of job openings, that there are, basically there's a lot of people that can jump around if they want to. That's all signs of a strong labor market. GDP has been really good and solid. We've seen durable goods come in good. Consumer sentiment, although they should, signal some weakness, people are still spending money. Now, we've already talked about the fact that they're spending money that they don't actually have. People are spending credit. However, credit's good, and credit will keep this economy going as long as it keeps getting extended. And that has no sign. There's no sign of a credit bubble. There's no sign that banks are afraid that they are overextending credit and that people are not paying it. We could argue that there are, record numbers of people falling late on things, but that's because there's record numbers of debt, and none of that is really slowing down the economy. So right now, Wall Street agrees the Fed not going to move on this meeting, but everyone's going to be paying attention to what happens and what they say next, specifically that dot plot, right? It would only take two participants to move their dots to move the median to 50 basis points or cuts, which would be two cuts this year rather than three, said Veronica Clark, a very smart economist at Citigroup. We are thinking the Fed is okay with where they are now, but it is definitely the risk. So here's the question. Let's say that this dot plot does come out and it shows that the Fed sticks around to thinking we're going to see three rate cuts. How does the market react to that? Is it improve? Does the market think, are they pricing in the idea that the Fed is going to move down to two rate cuts? Not really. When you take a look at what's going on here, right? And we go to December, Fed futures have us pretty firmly 35% looking for three rate cuts. If the Fed were to announce two, there's still 25% that see they're going to be there. Looking at Ron's comment, message just crossing on Business Channel that lawmakers are sending Powell a letter to drop rates. Yeah, I don't think it's nearly that. The only thing that lawmakers can agree on is banning TikTok, which is enough to make me throw up in my mouth. Yeah, I'm tribal. I'm American, very proudly so. Love this country, and not a fan of China, but I don't care that China knows that I look at videos from plumbers and real estate agents and mortgage people and electricians. Really, but they've got this and this on my phone and they can do this and that. So can everyone else. I have a device here that if I say two magic words, it wakes up and listens to everything I say. But how does it know when I say those two magic words? Hey, Google, how does it know? Oh, look at that. How does it know that? It's because it's listening to everything. And I also have Google tracking me. They know where I've been, what time I've been there, how much time I've spent there. They know based on my reviews how I felt about the place. Do I think that Google is any less nefarious than China? No, I don't. And I believe that parenting falls on parents, not on the nanny state. And you should know what your kids are looking at on their phones. I did. Anyway, back to your regularly sponsored program. Looking at the Fed futures here, if the dot plot, if it shows that the Fed, more people do think there's two meetings. And again, not just that, it's really, we got to look at what is this, how many traders are looking at where we'll be in 25 and 26 and beyond? Because if it's not just this immediacy of what we're going to see this year, it's where are rates going to be and where do they think so? And Samuel's got it totally. He's hit the nail on the head. Let me go ahead and go to the comments here and we can highlight some of what you guys have to say. Rate predictions have been such a bummer the last couple of years. I don't sell out predictions anymore, just whatever the current market is giving. Absolutely. However, Samuel, you want to use some of this information to try to get people off the fence right now. Buyers are pent up. They're not happy with affordability. They're not happy with where things are at. They're going to settle. They're going to struggle, but people that have been holding back, they're also giving up on where rates are going to be and where rates are at. So it's just a good way to tell people, hey, we don't think that we're going to see any big moves in rates. If you're going to buy a house, get out there and buy a stinking house. So that's what some of this stuff is. And you're absolutely right, Samuel, for sure. And again, I don't think we're going to see rates improve all that much over the next few months. I don't until we see signs that we really have some economic weakness, that we see the labor market really softening, and that 3.7 to 3.9 unemployment is not enough until we see CPI, consumer inflation, considerably moving lower and the PCE also moving lower, we're not going to see things continue to improve that much. I think what's going to happen is markets are going to expect maybe a half cut. Remember, they were quick to believe in December, just a couple of months ago, 3 months ago, that we were going to see 6 rate cuts or however number, but big cuts, and we're going to be down 1.5 by the end of the year. Yeah, not even remotely going to happen. Right now, there is no expectation for a May cut. This has gotten a little bit better from yesterday, and then June still at 40% expectation that will be where we're at, which gives us about a 60% idea that we'll see a cut. After this meeting this afternoon, if we see the idea that cuts are not going to come in June, if this loses ground, it's going to push mortgage rates up another eighth or a quarter of a point. And we're going to see mortgage rates move up higher again and push higher. Right now, using Mortgage News Daily, we're at 7.11. You'll see that move back up to 7 3/8. That's kind of where we're at and where things are going. So I don't think we have a lot of opportunity for improvement today, but we do want to keep our options open. Again, I'm going to put that back up on the screen. Cautiously float, but keep a finger on the trigger for, basically anything. Have a plan, right? So we have this in a 1-2 punch. You really want to be aware of that as well. You want to be aware that we're going to see the first reaction when that dot plot comes out, and it's going to be a knee-jerk reaction. Are you looking to lock on the first negative reaction, or are you waiting until Powell's press conference? Because again, I'm not going to profess to tell you what's going to happen because we've got so many things at play here. We've got what the Fed actually comes out and says. Then we've got the reaction to what the Fed says. And it can really cause a lot of volatility. It's the only thing that is guaranteed today is that we're going to see movement. We're not going to see things stay the same. They're definitely going to move. But have a plan whether you want to, if we get an initial negative response with that, for those Fed meeting minutes, are we going to wait and see if we get a recovery with the press conference? Because here's the thing. We can't take the temperature of Wall Street right now. We've got to see, what do traders think? Do they want to believe? Do they want to listen to anything that Powell says that could give them hope that things are going to improve? Then we might see positive reaction after that press conference. If their hopes get dashed and they start to jump off the lemming, cliff when everybody just lines up and does the same thing, then we're going to see rates shoot up after that. So, what Ron pointed out is exactly the case. The only thing that we can count on is that markets will always react. Always react. And as Robert Bashir said, we went from racing to the bottom, racing to the top, making up all the lost money from COVID. Exactly. So Christopher said, let's go hammer. Got me fired up today. Dude, the only thing you can do is prospect. Samuel said, I have a couple of them floating. Last week I quoted them 50 bips lower. Rates jacked up Friday. They both closed end of April. So I think we're safe holding it. So end of April, yes, you do have time because whatever reaction we're going to see, it's going to happen for the next couple of weeks. But remember, as we get into that, Samuel, when you get that April labor market report that's going to come out, and then that April CPI, that could see rates push back down again. As we move closer to the idea of when the Fed is going to cut rates, whether it's June, July, then we're going to see mortgage rates have a wider door to get through to improve, and it ends there. So I wouldn't panic anything closing at the end of April. If anyone wanted to lock it, you certainly could. If you don't lock it and rates shoot up another quarter point, don't panic. Don't panic, because I agree. I think they would come back down. And just like, what we saw, the reason that we saw that movement last week, let's go ahead and show that here. When we were quoting rates, you were look at this nice improvement, this green line that we have right there, right? Not line, but these green candlesticks, that everything improved. And then the following week, this was a couple weeks ago, and then the following, we lost it all. And that's all it takes is a nice nice wave to pick up some pricing. We picked up 3/8 of a point, sometimes about 3/8 of a point in price in rate over this, and then lost it all again right here. And locking now, I think is only for the near term. Anything's closing near term, we don't have time to see it improve. But even if we do take a stage lower, we have plenty of history. Let me get the quote out of the way so I can just show you guys. There you go. We have plenty of history. I mean, these were down, look at this, 94, 95. This was back in October. These were the worst rates we saw. It's very unlikely that we see this again. In order to see this happen, we would have to see another Fed pivot where the Fed talked about having to possibly raise rates. That would cause us to see things, the bottom fall out. We're not there yet. We don't have to worry about that yet. So even if we lose ground, it's more likely that we end up somewhere right around here, around 97 and 8, we'll call it like 98. And that's gonna put us down, say another 100 basis points basically from here, maybe 120. And that's certainly not where we want to see, but it isn't insurmountable. We could see recovery from that. We would see recovery from that. So that's it. But anyway, 20 minutes, y'all. Hopefully today helps you. Make sure that you are prepared. If you don't have something going on, make sure that you do sign up for our text alerts. Again, these things, I make so much money on these at $7 a month. It's ridiculous the amount of money I charge you guys, and you pay it. But hey, if you can afford $7 a month, I'm gonna take it from you. So Ron said if the Fed was thinking about raising rates, we would have heard that from Tim Ross already. Yeah, and they're not even close to that. They're nowhere near that. They're still trying to, kind of bring the plane in for that soft landing, and they're doing it so far. I want to see what they say as far. I didn't talk a lot about it, so I'll talk about it for a minute. This policy statement, they're going to have some more comments about the quantitative tightening and how much more of that they're going to do. That could be a hidden gem. If they start talking about how they're not going to do as much quantitative tightening and they ease down on that, that could help us very quietly in the back end. That would help bonds. But we'll have to wait and see what they say on that. So anyway, be ready this afternoon. Cautiously float until then. Make sure you get our text alerts. And tomorrow we'll see where the dust settles and we'll talk about what they said. And I hope you'll join me then. So remember, we do this each and every day, 9:30 a.m. Eastern time. I hope you'll join me. If you'd like to sign up and get a text reminder so that you know when I'm going live, and you can just click a link and come and join me, go ahead and use this cool QR code or go to hmmr.io/live-reminder. And I think I might just change that to reminder. In fact, hold on a minute. I think I can do that. Let me see. utm.io. I'm going to go there and just change that to reminder. Right now, I'm going to do that. So let me actually edit this. I'm going to change this to reminder. That way it's easier. And give me a minute. I'm going to change it in here. Lock advice links. No, that's not the ones I thought. Miscellaneous links. There it is. Okay, so give me a minute. I'm going to edit this to reminder. All right. There you go. So now all you have to do is do hmmr.io/reminder, and you can sign up for the text alerts. So, the text reminders. Anyway, that's it, y'all. Have a fantastic day. Keep your fingers crossed, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. We'll talk all about what happened. I hope you join me. Bye-bye.